And now, weighing in out of the blue corner, Josh the Punk Thompson.
100% agree.
And on the other mic, he weighs in from the red corner, Big John McCarthy.
The fans will not miss out because I will tell the story because we're live and it's time to tell my story. I'm not even going to introduce you. I'm not going to let you talk. I'm just going to start going. Have you ever? No, go ahead.
No, he's already went. It's Josh Thompson, John McCarthy. It is live, my friend. It is live.
Thank you very much.
Jeez, man. You totally fumbled the bag on that one.
No, I did not fumble the bag.
No.
I was going to talk about Clarkson's Farm for a minute because they have a guy that is from Scotland on that. His name is Gerald, and you can't understand a word that son of a bitch says. Not a word. And Jeremy Clarkson, who's from England, he can't understand a word. So he just sits there and looks at him and goes, uh-huh. It's great.
There's a lot of times that I can't understand anything you say.
Well, that's true.
There's a lot. It happens all the time.
Well, that's because you've been hit a lot. See, because your ears don't work. They're fucking all screwed up. That's why you got all that shit on top of them.
Oh, yeah. It's beautiful. They're beautiful. John, there's a lot going on right now after the Elite Topuria. I don't want to say fallout, but after,
Oh, there's fallout.
Yeah, you call it fallout? I wouldn't call it fallout.
Dude, because anytime there's people that are mad, it's great. That's fallout. It's awesome.
John, everyone's mad all the time.
What are you mad about?
I have no idea what people are mad about. Let's just jump right into it. There's a new pound for pound right now, and people are buzzing about it, and it's Elite Topuria.
Yeah.
I want to get your 2 cents before I put in my 2 cents. I want to get your 2 cents on this whole situation. And why do you think it happened?
It happened because he has been in the public eye. He has been fighting. His fights have come up, and there hasn't been that fight where you look at, you can't take anything away from Islam Makhachev. Mm-hmm. Okay? You take a look. He's got, all right, his last 4 fights, he's got 1 decision. That was the one with Volkanovski that went into the 5th round where people thought he lost the 5th round, which he did, but he didn't lose the fight. Okay, so he wins the fight, but everyone said, oh, no, Volkanovski won it. And it's all because Volkanovski was the featherweight and everything. You look and you go, no, if you really watch the fight, it was 3 rounds to 2 rounds. It should be, Islam Makhachev, he won the fight. Yeah, he didn't win the last round, and that never looks good when it's a close fight. When the guy who loses it wins the last round and everyone's going, no, he should win. But you take a look at his fights. Who has he fought? Well, he's fought good competition too. He fought Volkanovski again, knocks him out, right? Has the beautiful head kick. He fights Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier is a stud, a fucking legend in the fucking game. A guy that's going to be going out here, shortly on his last fight, and he deserves that kind of recognition that, look, he's fought everyone, done everything. That's a great win, okay? But then he has Renato Moicano, and I'm not putting Moicano down in any fashion, but he was supposed to fight Sarukian. And that was, nothing to do with him. He takes the fight when they switch it to Moicano because Sarukian is not going to make weight. And you look and you go, okay, he goes and he does what he's supposed to do. He gets rid of Moicano, and he gets rid of him pretty fast. But you can't match let's just be honest, those 3 fights as you look at them, and then you look at how fast Topuria has been going through his, because he gets the win against Volkanovski by knockout. Then he goes and he takes on the former champion in Max Holloway and gets a knockout against Max, which no one has done. So that's a huge, huge factor in saying something about, what kind of performance that is. Then he goes and he drops that title and he steps up in weight and he takes on the former champion in, Charles Oliveira. And you can sit there and Sarukian is saying all kinds of stuff about, should have been me and stuff. Well, I'll tell you what, you fought Oliveira, you didn't get rid of him. And so that guy did in the 1st round, like he predicted. So everything he's been doing, you look at it and it's a wave that starts building as far as this thing's getting bigger and bigger, more people are jumping into that wave to ride it. And he starts gaining more and more popularity, while Islam, he hasn't been super active. He's been as active as he can be. He gets the fight, like I said, it gets canceled as far as Sarukian, and he gets Moicano, but that's not the fight people were expecting. And so they just look at it and drop him down. you can't ask anything more from either guy. Either guy deserves that pound for pound. Okay. Islam's been there. I always say, it's no different than when Kamaru Usman was the pound for pound. And I said, look, I think Volkanovski should be pound for pound right now. He's fighting the better fights. He's getting the better results. It's not, you can take a look at what's happening with who he's fighting and how he's fighting. Right now, I think that he is the pound for pound. It kind of went that way. And I can understand why people are looking at Topuria and saying, right now, I think he's the best pound for pound fighter. In the end, it might not be that way, but right now it looks that way. And he is doing it in a fashion that is just collecting fans as he goes.
Okay. Look, everything you said, I agree with, but I'm going to make it as simple as possible. He's undefeated at 17-0. His last 3 fights have been against guys that were considered to be, they're going to go right into first ballot Hall of Famers. Yeah. And he's done it in impressive fashion. He's finished all of them. And then not only on top of that is he's got a second title now. Islam does not have that title. Now, had Islam won the welterweight title before him, I would have said you keep Islam there. But okay. I'm 100% okay with what they're doing right now.
I am too.
Because if I am the UFC, what is your job to do? Your job is to promote and market what you have available to you. And the number one thing you can market right now in this sport is Islam versus Topuria. Oh, yeah. And if Islam wins at 170 and he becomes the champion, and then Topuria and them go back and forth on the pound for pound list, I mean, I'm going to be honest. I could see if Islam wins against JDM, he then jumps Topuria again, because now he jumped not just 10 pounds, he jumped 15 pounds. And he's fought someone. Now he has a second title, and he's got a long win streak, and he's won in 155, and now he's the one in one. And now they're going to jump again. And then if Topuria gets a win over Armand or Patty or whatever it is and defends twice, or even maybe thinks about going to 170, then they can make it as a UFC. I'm like, this is a great opportunity for me to create a rivalry. It's huge. They've already kind of done it.
Perfect.
But I'm saying it couldn't get any better for us as long as they keep winning.
That's it. I agree with you.
So this to me is very strategic by the UFC. I think it's a fantastic thing that they did, and I'm not knocking my boy. I love the fact that he has had such success at 155 pounds. He just now was leaving at 155 to fight for 170 before Topuria came up. So Topuria wins his title first. So, of course, he's got 2 titles now. He's undefeated. He's knocked out the 3 of the top guys ever to step foot inside that cage. I think it's honestly well-deserved. I want Islam to get it back if he wins at 170.
Can you imagine if Islam does go and wins the welterweight title, becomes another double champ, a guy that has had 2 titles in 2 different weight classes, same as Topuria, and he is either number 1 or number 2 in the pound for pound, and they're going to put that fight. That's the biggest fight they've ever had. I hear all this time, this is the biggest fight ever. That would be the biggest fight ever. You got 2 double champions, the 2 guys sitting at number 1 and number 2 in the pound for pound rankings. Come on. That would be just unbelievable.
Has that not happened? I thought we just had that with Volkanovski and Islam. They were number 1 and number 2.
Were they at number 1 and number 2?
I believe so.
In the pound for pound?
Yes.
But they both weren't double champions. They were just single.
Yeah, they both were. Yes. So now you're saying both because they're both number 1, number 2, both double champions, both number 1 and 2. Yeah,
pretty impressive.
If I'm the UFC, that is the easiest thing to market. Obviously, the story writes itself, and you've got a fighter who's a phenomenal wrestler, but also has huge power in his hands, and is at the brink of capitalizing on capturing 3 titles if he decides to go up to 170 to fight Islam. Now, I am so against, as I was with Max Holloway going down to 45. I don't want Islam, if he does win the title, to come down to 55. If Ilya wants to fight him and he wants to capture and make history and go up to 170, I could see that happening. 15 pounds is a huge jump. It's a lot different than the 10-pound jump that Max has made. He's tried several times to make that, and I think finally he will stay now at 155. I think this is the weight class for Max, but I think Topuria needs to sow his oats, I guess you should say, at the 155-pound division, and he's got big-time money fights available to him. He's got the Armand fight, which is not as big of a fight money-wise as the Paddy fight, but there are options available to him to capitalize in making some big paydays. And I think that I don't want to say easier fights, but they're definitely fights that are winnable for him with his type of power, his ability to wrestle, his submission game. Think about this, John. When I watched him on the ground with Charles Oliveira, I was like, that's where Charles has the advantage. He put him right into the crucifix, started doing some work into that crucifix. I was like, when you were just talking about.
Come on, he just sliced through his guard like it was nothing.
Yeah.
It was like, whoa.
When he talked about, I'm going to submit Islam or I'm going to do this. And I was like, dude, you're wild. This is just absurd. I was just thinking it was more of like just Conor talk. I'm going to do this, just feeding the mic. I saw a level of grappling that we don't normally see against Charles Oliveira. Yeah. Very impressive, very nicely done. That whole crucifix to trying to hit the submissions from there, avoiding the leg lock, getting out of position. Like he definitely impressed me all the way around. Stuffing the takedown, digging the underhooks, like doing all things against the fence, not being bullied around. I mean, I know 170 is a different category, right? Another 15 pounds is a lot. I'm concerned for Islam, and he's got a way bigger frame than Ilia Topuria.
Yes, way bigger. But
John, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and lie to your face and tell you I would love to see Islam and him fight at 170. I don't want to see Islam go back down, just like I didn't want to see Max go back down.
Well, it's understandable.
This is one of those things where you can see fighters, or you can see the UFC just salivating, going, man, if we could find a way to get this fight to match up, if Ilia can beat Armand, if Ilia can beat Paddy, and then go up to 70, and obviously, look, Islam's got to win that fight against JDM, and he's going to have to probably defend it. And if in all likelihood, it'll either be Sean Brady, I think if he beats Ian Gary, or it'll be Shavkat. Both those guys, I think, are winnable fights for him. I think the Ian Gary fight's a harder fight for Islam because he's going to have a harder time to catch that chicken. That guy's just running around like a chicken. And I'm not saying he's a chicken. I'm simply saying his style, the way he
moves around a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an MVP style fight. He's just not an easy fight for anyone. A Lyoto Machida, that style of fight is so difficult.
Yeah,
so difficult to deal with.
Yep. Just want to say, Denny Huddleston, I saw your text there. Good to see you, man. Thank you very much. He was equipment manager on a football team I was on. God bless him. Hope you're doing well. There you go.
I mean, John, in terms of marketability, has Ilia Topuria surpassed the Conor McGregor, like in terms of what he's been able to do?
Dude, you saw the DM from long ago, I'm going to be you. And well, not only is he the same weight classes, same belts, but again, like I said, he's actually doing more. At least he defended. It's the one, if there's one dig you can say against Conor in the fact that he became champion, he never defended that title. You got to defend that title.
Neither one of them.
Exactly. Featherweight or lightweight. And you look and you go, that was a miss. That was something that was missed off of, I don't know by who. I don't know if it was, Conor's thing, but he missed a thing that, you've got to, you got to be able to say that you defended that title. And that was something that missed. And Topuria has done it with the featherweight. He's going to do it with the lightweight coming up. And that's what you're supposed to do as the champ. And look, I'm just saying right now, Conor was special in a lot of ways. And Topuria is matching it. He's calling out the rounds and those things, but there's something more special as far as what you're looking with Topuria. He's undefeated. Conor came into the UFC. He had losses. Mm-hmm. Okay. People had seen ways to beat him, and with Topuria, no one's figured out that puzzle yet. And that is a huge difference. That is a standard to have, that undefeated record when you're fighting the very best people out there. Josh, that is not an easy task to keep that in place. And he's done it for 17 fights. Now, Islam's got, 10 more fights than him, no doubt about it. But he does have that one mark on him. It happens. That's just, no one's punch proof. The only guy that's been able to do it throughout his career, is your other buddy there, Habib. Mm-hmm. And, I do believe that Habib would have continued on for a while, being undefeated. But eventually, if he stayed in it, someone's going to get him. You know, again, no one's punch proof, and you make a mistake, and someone capitalizes on the mistake, the fight's going to be over. But right now, Topuria is riding that wave where undefeated, calling the fucking rounds, calling the way, freaking division champion. You can't ask for more.
Yeah, if you're the UFC, you're
I'm liking him.
Yeah, you're loving the fact that also too he keeps it classy. You know, he can have an opinion about a fighter like a Patty. I'm looking forward to knocking him out, and whereas he can also have an opinion about someone like Charles. I admire him. I'm just upset that it had to be him. I love how he is with his family. I love how he is with his friends, his corners, his coaches, all those things. It's somebody you can look up to, but it's got to be him because that's what we do. And that's a great approach. I think it reminds me a lot of how GSP handled his career. You know, GSP had some words about Koscheck, but at the end of the day, it was still a fight. And they both had, their business, the Ultimate Fighter, all that stuff. Ilia Topuria to me is extremely marketable. He's got a good look to him. He's all about his.
Speaks how many languages?
Yeah, I mean, on top of that, John, he looks like he handles his business. Like he's very ingrained.
He is a businessman, and his fight career is his business. And that's how many times have we told fighters, hey, you're a business unto yourself. You need to handle your career like it's a business. That's what he's doing.
Yeah, he's handling it. And what do you take with this, though, when he says, yeah, I'm going to be retired by the time I'm 30?
Great. So did another guy that you know, right?
Yeah,
Habib. No, Habib.
I said the same thing. Fought another 9 years. Yeah, but Habib said the same thing. 30 years old.
He said it. I'm going to retire at 30, and this is the whole point. You could sit there and say that and truthfully mean it, and then when you get to 30, you go, nope, I'm still having fun. Or you can sit there and say, I've done everything that I ever wanted to do, and I'm leaving, and that's okay.
You know what the hard part is about leaving the sport is it's like you've worked so hard to get where you're at, and now that you're capitalizing on the amount of money you're making. Think about this. For him, it's going to be very difficult. I read somewhere he made about $3 million for this fight. Every fight he takes. And if it does continue to be this easy, I could do one more. I could do one more, and it's another 3 million. It's another 4 million. It's another, and it progressively grows.
It's going to grow
as he gets more popular. Think about this. He started that fight with, I want to say 7.5 million, Instagram followers. He finished at 9.7.
No, I think it was 9 million and finished at 10.5. It was like $1.5 million he grew.
Okay, well, $1.5 million.
Okay. So $1.5 million. Potato, tomato, whatever you want to call it. Okay.
Just spell that for me.
Whatever, man. You know what I mean? But
that was one word.
Yeah, whatever. Tomato, tomato, potato, whatever it is.
There you
go. Bottom line is the UFC's got something. They know they have something. Now it's like Scott Coker used to say, I put on the best fights I possibly can. It's up to the fighters to perform and do their job.
Right.
He's been doing his job. Islam Makhachev has been doing his job.
That's right.
Now, if you can get the stars to align, you can potentially have a future super fight down the line. And I don't think Ilia Topuria is somebody that will shy away from that, even with the O still on the line. He's somebody that says, you know what? This is an opportunity for me to potentially break that 2.5 million views. Maybe not in pay-per-views, but if they end up getting this new deal, this new contract with whether Netflix, whether it's Amazon, whether it's ESPN, they may want to say, hey, ESPN, we need to hit a bigger market. We can't have all these things always on pay-per-view when we have big fights like this, maybe 2 a year. You do El Noche and then you do the International Fight Week. You do those 2 big fights every year where we put together a huge card that's available free. It's no different than how remember when Strikeforce and then even Bellator tried it with CBS. They try to put on their biggest cards for CBS, and because it was free TV, giving opportunity for all the people who can't afford pay-per-views or just are not able to make it work.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And give them an opportunity to get to know your fighters and put those top fighters and those level fighters on free TV and let them enjoy it. You're going to end up with fans for life.
Yeah.
And especially when they perform like Ilia Topuria does. They're looking at him, John, and all the lead up to that fight. There was memes going around. There was gifs going around of Charles picking him up.
Oh, yeah, putting his hand on his head.
Yeah, putting his hand on his head, patting him down. Little things like that. that gets people ignited about
AI is a
fights.
bitch.
It's going to be great, John. It's going to be great. So those are the things that really rile up your fan base, but also we'll be able to create a new fan base for you if you put it out there on free TV. And then you have all this stuff available to you on social media where people get to see things like that, where Charles is picking him up. Then they see him in person, or then they see him on TV and like, he really is he's not that big. He's not tall. He's not, all these things. It wasn't just an AI. He really is small, but then he goes out there and crushes people's
Nobody
skulls.
can fight.
Yeah, but he can fight.
Yeah.
And then you have sound bites or quotes from like his wife. Like, if a man's going to die, it's not going to be my man.
I love that.
Quotes like that. Oh, that's insane. Like, and then the confidence, and you can see he carries that swagger. Like, he's not out there trying to impress anybody. He's going out there to get his job done. He knows what he's good at. John, I
like the whole thing with the rose now too. He's got a trademark.
That's good.
Oh yeah, it is. But
Yeah.
come on. I would have a rose myself, and it would be black. And I beat him. I put that son bitch down.
It doesn't go with the Spain type,
that's it, man.
aura. That red rose is something
perfect.
that carries. It's perfect for him.
Great.
It's perfect for him.
And the wife is carrying it for him the whole time. She hands it off to him. Oh yeah, it's perfect.
I love it. I think that and the fact is that the simple fact is they have something between them, husband and wife, that I think a lot of women will start to cater to, like, hey, I like this guy. He seems like a family man. Seems like he's in love with his wife. She's in love with him. They have something that a lot of people would admire and to look up to.
Well,
you can't forget the marketability of that.
You can see just with his team, because we talked about, a lot of people talked about, look, he's switching camps and he's going to be doing his camp on his own. And I said, look, his brother is a huge part of his camp. It's really not that much of a switch. It's that he's just going to be bringing people in. But yeah, one coach is stepping down. But you take a look at the way he interacts with his team, the way he interacts with his family. Look, the one thing I got to give this guy, I say all the time, it is so difficult to become that champion and to deal with what comes with being the champion, because so many things are thrown at you. You know this, that, all these things that I can't get into really on this, as far as, some of them are good, some of them are bad, but are all free. Okay. When you're the champ, and, not everyone makes the right decisions. And this is a guy I'm looking at. He's going to make the right decisions. He knows what's important. He knows where his loyalties are at. And, he's going to ride and die with that. And I love that about him.
What I loved about even his former coach was like, look, he's going to go his way. I'm going to go my way. But we have a respect for each other. It was handled mutually. Like, we understand, it's too far for me to travel. And I have my business and everything that I'm doing here. I got my family here. He's got his family there. And they parted ways. It seemed like very amicably, I think is the word for it.
Yeah.
And that's what you want. That's what you want out of your relationships with your past corners and coaches. It doesn't always end that way.
No, it does not.
But John, I want to go back to what you just said, though, is that when you take someone like Ilia Topuria, how he's got all of his ducks in a row. Well, you know what makes him dangerous? And I want the new fighters that are coming into this to say, hey, he's out there drinking wine, doing his thing, right? He's not Paulo Costa drinking wine, but he's out there drinking wine. So he's having some wine, and then you've got,
one bottle of wine, and you're a wine drinker for life. Yeah, look at that.
But Islam one, it sounded like there was a couple bottles.
I'm not just saying,
It was raining red. But it just comes down to the newer generation of fighters. If you want to be successful, you can't enjoy those party moments. You can't be out there at the nightclub, getting bottle service. You've got to stay focused, 365 days a year. You've got to be on point with your coaches. You've got to be a little bit more selfish with your coaches and your time, and make the focus about you. GSP was ahead of the game. Yep. He had coaches that only traveled with him. And I want to remind people, the reason why I say, like, maybe the boxers have it down. Maybe you don't need big gyms, because BJ Penn was the best when he didn't have a big gym and he was training with Marv Marinovich and those guys, right? Those guys were complete fucking whack jobs. But they had him training, they had him working hard. And, obviously there was other coaches, his boxing coaches and his brothers were pushing him, and Rich Chow and those guys were pushing him. But he was doing his job. And that one coach and that focus, Ilya Topuria has his small group, and he's made it about him, and it's important that it stays that way. GSP would go from location to location, and the coaches were all about him. When he would go, it was about his training. It wasn't about everybody else's training. We're all going to train as one. Maybe that's the way to do it right now in this day and age, making it a focus about yourself. Because you got to be honest,
it's a selfish sport, man.
Yeah, you got Islam, you got Usman, you got Umar, and I'm using them as an example because they've got Javier, and Javier travels with them when they fight. Yep. They've got a coach, and then obviously they have their group of wrestling coaches and other coaches to help out. But it's mainly Javier running the camps and Habib running the camps with them. But they have their one coach, and he's got his group of guys, and they all work together with each other. But there's only a handful of them, say 4 or 5. Now, I know they have a big gym and a big school, but I'm just simply saying maybe times are changing in the sport. Maybe the big gym format is not the way to go if you want to be as successful as Islam and Topuria, and GSP and BJ Penn when he was with just the one coach.
Don't you have to get to that point of being able to make that happen before? You can just step off, to say that, I'm going to do that from the beginning. That ain't happening because you're not going to get the coach. You're not going to get all these things. And so you're going to have to go through that whole thing like you saw, with all these other guys that have been great fighters. But Topuria then has his coach step, but then says, you know what, I'm going to go to, just training out of my gym and my home and with my brother and stuff. And you can do that when you are of his status.
No. Think about this. Who was training? Someone recently. Sean O'Malley was training at the lab and then doing his own thing too. He was making it about himself, and then he separated himself kind of from the lab, has his own gym, and had success after that. That was literally just the Dana White Contender Series.
But he still goes to the lab every now and then.
Okay, but it's okay to visit a spot. I'm simply saying that his camp is about him.
Yes.
His focus is about him. And he was literally just doing that almost right out of the Dana White Contender Series. So you don't really need to be a high level. You just need to, I think once you get to the UFC, 1, maybe 2 fights, but then once you're there, I think people should realize, hey, it's about you. This is your time. There's no warm-up time anymore, John. There's no easy fights in the UFC. There's no easy fights in this sport, period. I just called Juan Archuleta's fight in Barroca 3. And just happened recently in Laughlin, Las Vegas, or outside of Las Vegas, Laughlin,
Nevada.
And there was a moment in that first round, I was like, oh man, he's struggling to get Denny Linton down. He's struggling he almost got hit with like a bulldog choke / like ninja choke a little bit and wiggled his way out. But it was one of those moments where I'm like, dude, you're at this level, and he's really kind of like, he's really good, but he's not on your level. These guys can shock you at any moment. Now, he gets the flying knee knockout at the beginning of the second round. Yeah, but it was very impressive. Probably on there for knockout of the year. That being said, though, at any moment, these guys can get you. Let's not forget. Do you guys remember Joe Lazon, how he came into the UFC with Jens Pulver? Yeah. Huge knockout. Yeah. Huge. So these guys in any time and any day can get
61 seconds.
Something like that, yeah. Were you the ref?
No, I was not the ref for it. I was watching it.
Yeah, and so things like that lets you know that in any moment at any time, the guy that's coming up can win it all. And being said, when you first get in the UFC now, in this day and age, you should start thinking about programming your training specifically around you. These big gyms, I like the big gyms. I like having plenty of bodies around you. But you really need to focus on having it just be about you, your coaching, your training, your technique, and start taking maybe a little bit more of the boxer route of you spar once a week, but only like the last 3 weeks or 4 weeks of the camp, and you set up your sparring partners and your training partners as needed. That's something to keep in mind. It's
not bad. The one thing to end this whole thing is, and I think we agree on this, the pound for pound thing is not about, once you're there, you stay there until you're beat. I don't think that's the way it should be. I think it is, some guys are just fighting better at the moment and they can move up and bump you out. That's just the way it is. And if you don't
it's not even better. It's not even so much better. Just you're fighting sometimes better competition. And it's no fault of Islam's. He had to fight. He had to fight Moicano.
That's right.
He had to fight Moicano. And let's be honest, Ilya should have been fighting Arman, but the UFC was upset at Arman, and you fought the next best guy. It wasn't like he ducked anyone. He didn't say, I want to fight Patty first. No, he fought the next best guy for the vacant title, and he had a great performance. So, I mean, these are definitely something to keep in mind, I think. And
frequency as well, though, right? Because Islam fights way less. He fights like once a year.
Frequency has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
But again, I think frequency has a lot to do with you maintaining a level and actually getting better as a fighter. The more it's no different. I tell referees all the time, look, you need repetitions, and repetitions means I need to be in that cage doing fight after fight after fight, because it's the way that you see things. It's the way the fight slows down for you. Everything, you just become very, confident in your ability to know exactly where you need to go and all these things. It's no different for a fighter. It's the same thing. The more you're in that cage fighting at true fight speed and everything is coming at you and you're doing well and you're getting these wins, the confidence that comes with that and the ability to actually slow the fight down absolutely occurs for that fighter. And so there is an advantage. Now, there's not an advantage if you're getting hurt. If you're getting hurt in those fights, well, then you're going to have to slow it down because you're going to have to recover and all those things. But if you're not getting hurt and you're getting wins, I would tell you fight as much as you can, because that's your way of making money and of maintaining exactly where you're at.
Yeah, I mean, John, I want to say this though too. In terms of, I think this is a brilliant idea or a brilliant thing that they did by having Ilya jump Islam, just for marketability. Like, this guy is hot. He's resonating in Spain. He's resonating in Georgia. He's resonating across the world right now because of his knockout power and his body stature. Like, he's not a big guy. He's got big power. He's got a swagger and confidence about him. It's something the UFC can market. Now, like I said, if Islam ends up getting the second title, that can probably jump him back above Ilya. And then now they're having to basically compete with each other. It's a battle.
It's great.
And the UFC can use that at any moment. And the press and the media is going to run with that. Like, oh, Islam gets it back if he wins the title. If Islam does not win the title, then there's no discussion really. Like, hey, what do we do? Does Islam go back down to 55, or does he try to keep trying to capture that that 170-pound welterweight title? That's going to be the question, I think, if Islam's not able to win against JDM.
Yeah, true.
So, but look, I'm super happy, John. I think this is I think he showed me a lot. He showed me a lot in just that short stint of 2 minutes and 33 seconds, whatever it was. He showed a lot. He showed, his ability to stop bigger guys with a decent pedigree of wrestling, but a really good pedigree of jiu-jitsu, and someone who's willing to take a shot and give a shot, and he put him down. And he wasn't like he got rocked and hurt and then went down and scrambled back. He put him out.
Yeah. That right hand was short. It was sweet. It had, just beautiful power. The left hand, it touched him, but the right hand's what did it.
Well, I don't know if you recall, the first left hand kind of touched him a little bit, and then the right hand finished, and then he hit him again with that last left hand.
Yeah.
So both the left hands just kind of grazed or at least stopped the momentum a little bit, but that right hand landed clean on the button.
Yeah.
Beautifully done.
Yep.
And then the 2 shots at the end were not needed. Slow referees.
Wow.
We got to get some guys in there that are under 40. I mean, can we get somebody in there under 40?
That's part of that is something you got to talk about. It's no different.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, I know these guys want to stay around forever. There comes a point where, if you're getting older, you're going to have to be able to move your ass. And if you can't, it's time to leave.
Yeah. Dave, I feel like there's another part of this whole thing that you're trying to talk to us about. Is there anything?
As far as pound for pound, no, I think you guys covered it pretty comprehensively. Yeah, I think you got it.
I want to go into a different direction, but I want to keep it on Ilya Topuria because right now, honestly, it's so hot to talk about him right now. Do you jump Arman Tsarukyan? Do you skip him? Do you bypass him? Do you go right to Paddy because that's a big money fight? Arman has a good chance of beating Ilya, and I'm not saying he's going to do it. I'm just simply saying there's a chance.
What makes you think Arman has a good chance of beating Ilya? Where is it that you've looked and you've gone, wow, take a look at what Arman has done recently, and yeah, he is absolutely the guy that's going to beat Ilya.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
That's true. Nowhere.
Okay.
No.
Yeah. I'm waiting. I agree with you. I think Arman Tsarukyan is talented as all get out, but he's got to really start to do things to hone his career in and hone his ability to finish people and do these things that other people are doing that he's not.
Yeah. I mean, look at you. Definitely doesn't want to be inside the pocket with Ilia Topuria.
God, come on. There's a huge element here where Topuria has a huge advantage in the fight. I'm not saying that, Arman doesn't have his strengths too, but in the stand-up, it's not close.
Yeah, there's always going to be, and look, I'm just bringing this up really to create more conversation on the Ilias topic, but it just comes down to when you look at him and when the critics, and I was one of them for a while, we haven't seen him wrestle. Bryce Mitchell was able to take him down. And then you got someone like Arman who got skipped over because of him not making weight and trying to get back in the good graces of the UFC. All of that being said, Ilia Topuria showed me a lot in that takedown defense. It showed me a lot in passing through the guard and getting to that crucifix position against someone like a Charles Oliveira. And then you look at the way that Arman fought Charles, and it was almost like desperation doubles in the third round, trying to basically just bury his head in the chest and not let anything happen. That is a dangerous position to be in with Ilia Topuria, especially in a 5-round fight, because of the way he fights. He fights extremely relaxed. There's no wasted energy or movement from his boxing positions. He's got the power to start you and let you and knock you out at any moment of the fight. Left hand, right hand, body shot, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what he decides to do. And then I saw this little short quote from Merab saying, I can't spar with him anymore. He's dropped me already twice to the body. So Merab's like, I can't spar with him. It's not worth it. Now, knowing that someone like Merab, who's got a gas tank and can push and wrestle, and they're basically the same size. Let's not pretend like they're not. Okay, Merab's slightly, like maybe 10 pounds, maybe 8 pounds lighter.
He's a little bit smaller.
A little bit, but when they stand toe to toe, they're the same. Eye contact to eye contact. Okay, just Merab's bones are a little bit, I guess, less filled. They know Ilia's got the denser bones. I don't know what it is, John. But when he says that I can't spar with him anymore because he hits too hard. It makes sense. You look like you had to say something there, Dave.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So this was one of the takes. Was it? There's word that like the Ilia, the kind of sentiment right now is that Ilia is the corner of 10 years ago, right? Like that big fight feel that like he comes in, blah blah blah, big energy, but he came in and first of all he got booed. So I don't know if I necessarily agree with like this take that. Stardom. I think Stardom, like yes, but as far as like marketability, I don't like. What do you guys think around marketability? The reason I'm going to say it is because he got booed, right? So like Conor never came in and got booed.
Was he booed
right?
after the fight?
I can't remember. No, he wasn't.
He changed all those boos into what?
Yeah,
right. But
they were all cheering for him.
The second thing is. Does he sell the pay-per-views at the same rate as Conor does? Because I think ultimately that's what it comes down to, right?
Yeah,
it's like
you're absolutely right about the pay-per-view thing. But the problem is the pay-per-view of 10 years ago is different than the pay-per-view of now. As far as the way it's done, I was watching the one with the people that were stealing the stream. It's like, and they're watching Jake Paul. Now I was doing the same thing as far as I wasn't stealing, but I was watching two fights at once. But you take a look and these guys are stealing the stream and they got Jake Paul up on one and their fight with Ilia Topuria and Charles Oliveira's over here and it freezes and I was loving it. I was like, oh, you deserve that. And then all of a sudden it comes back and Charles is on the ground and I went, I love it. That's why I pay. I pay because.
What are you talking about? ESPN freezes more than any fucking app I've ever
It has. It's true. I know.
What are you talking about?
But yeah, it's one of those. It's like if it freezes and you're stealing it, there's nothing you can say. You're stealing it. But
it's funny.
I thought it was hysterical.
Dave, go ahead. Tell me again what you were talking about. So look, the booing situation is because and I had this conversation with my buddy Angelo. Charles Oliveira is a fan favorite.
Yes.
It was even said by Ilia that Charles he really admires and looks up to Charles.
There's no one that doesn't like Charles.
Everyone loves Charles. Charles is a huge fan favorite. Everyone talked about it and leading up. So that's why, you're going to get a lot more. There's a lot more, I think, Brazilians in this country than there are Spaniards. And so I think people from Spain. So I think, and the ones that turn out. The other thing too is that Brazil, I believe that they'll come up from wherever they're living, whether it's Brazil, whether it's the US, whether it's in, wherever they're at, they will come and support in Las Vegas because Las Vegas is a great tourist spot. But that being said, in Spain, like I think if you take him over to Europe, it's a completely different story. Completely different story. I think in Spain, he crushes it in Europe. And I think if you even take him over to the Middle East, I think he crushes it over there more so than Charles Oliveira.
Okay, next question then. Who's bigger, Charles today or Jose Aldo 10 years ago?
Charles or Jose Aldo?
Yeah. Jose Aldo when he fought Conor or Charles on Saturday night?
As far as fan favorite,
Yeah.
Charles Oliveira.
You say Charles? Okay.
Yeah.
Charles Oliveira.
Yeah. Okay. Because I mean, Jose had that wild run, right? And he was like considered the guy back
He
when he
was
fought
the
Conor.
guy, but he wasn't the guy with a lot of fans.
No.
Okay.
There was absolutely a handful that loved him and followed him and stuff. There was people wanting him to lose, and I can't tell you why, but I knew of people who go, I can't wait till he loses. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
But I would tell you, I've never heard one person say anything bad about Charles. Everyone loves the guy. He's a sweetheart. Even when he goes in the cage, he goes over and he shakes the hands of the other trainers and things like that. That's just the way he is. He doesn't have that ability to trash talking and stuff. It's not. It's not. And hey, I'll tell you that I'm going to beat you in the fight, but I'm not going to sit here and talk bad about you.
I love that about him. And I honestly believe that you get the best out of those fighters when there's less trash talk and just more like, hey, I'm going to win. Because now they don't have this idea that you're going to go ahead and like trash them after if they beat you. Like that's a big thing that weighs on fighters' minds. Like when you get into those matches where people hate each other, they end up being some of the shittiest fights.
Yeah, because they're afraid of losing to that person that they talk all that shit about.
John Jones and Rashad Evans ended up being a snooze fest because neither guy wanted to lose. It wasn't a great fight. And there's been other, I know just off the top of my head, I can't think about which ones, but that's the one that comes to mind the most, because there was so much hype around it, same gym, same camp, all the other stuff and this and that, and the splitting of, Rashad going somewhere else and all of those things. Ilia Topuria right now, I believe he's on the right path to being a superstar. And you set up something, Dave, already about pay-per-views. We're at a different time than we were when Conor McGregor was making his splash onto the scene with the pay-per-view market. And it was even starting to kind of dwindle a little bit when Conor was making his splash. The Khabib thing was just such a huge deal. And it was also after he had already fought Floyd. So that's why he got a lot of the bump from the boxing market with the Floyd fight, and then goes on and fights Khabib. And Khabib having a huge country behind him, Dagestan behind him, the Middle East behind him, just everything. It was a perfect storm that got them to 2.5 million views. This day and age, I don't know what the number would be for Ilia Topuria to break. But I think what you'll see, though, like I said, when you get to ESPN's new deal or Amazon's new deal, a fight like that is going to end up being free. It's going to be a fight that they put out there that it's going to end up being one of those, I want to get the average fan to recognize our fighters. So now we can start charging more pay-per-view money. They're going to try to break that to $100 pay-per-view when they do have them. And there'll be less of the pay-per-views, I think, but with a higher price tag.
So early reports right now are 900,000 pay-per-view buys for this one on Saturday. Is that in your mind? That's great. Okay, that's a strong number for.
That's way better than I thought, to be honest.
That's an absolutely huge number right now in the pay-per-view market.
If that's the early reports, I mean, I was honestly only thinking 700 at the most, 700. That's huge. I think that's fantastic. That way outpunted the coverage. That did way better than I thought. And a lot of that was largely because you have Charles, who is so popular amongst so many people. Even fighters love him. All of the fighters love him. I've never heard a fighter say something bad about him. And you've got Ilia Topuria, who's got the knockout power, trying to get the second title. Big time fights is what the sport needs right now. And I think Ilia Topuria is that guy to take us there. Plus, his little thing that he started with Islam is going to carry over. If Islam can win, Islam can hold his side of the deal here and win that welterweight title, John, that right there. We never saw the GSP Anderson Silva.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, there's a strong possibility we could see this if both of them continue to win. Yeah. I think both of them would do it. I think they would both do it.
So. Question on the UFC 317 then, since we're there, kind of there. So they brought back the Fighter Fan Fest and all that this year. They made a big deal of International Fight Week. Did you feel like that card felt like International Fight Week worthy?
I thought the card was fantastic. But I'm being honest. to me, and I could be wrong as far as, I wasn't there. I was there the week before. But when the UFC first started the International Fight Week, I mean, they tried to make it just a huge event. I mean, they had huge halls they had so many fighters signing autographs and doing things. And it doesn't seem as big now as it did, let's say 8, 9 years ago, 10 years ago. It seemed like it was bigger back then. It actually seemed a little bit like they've let off the gas on it. It's like, hey, we're going to do this and we're going to have some special stuff. We're going to have the Hall of Fame and we're going to do, a couple of things, but we're not going to put out all the bells and whistles like we did before. So I think it's a little bit less. I thought the card, even going in, I thought the card looked really good. It wasn't, I thought that the fight, the 2 fights, Pantoja against Kai Kara France, I thought was a little bit, it's a championship fight. I really had the feeling that Pantoja was going to be able to handle him. But even with, what was occurring with the whole fight card, I thought, they lost a couple things, but I thought they put on a great fight card. I thought the prelims were great. I thought, even the fights, that, didn't last long. I thought looking at them, I said, that's a good fight. It's a well-matched fight. They may not have lasted long, but it was a well-matched fight, when you're looking at it. I really was impressed, especially by putting guys like Lima against Talbot, Peyton Talbot against Lima. I thought, dude, that's a great fight. That's the kind of fight you want to put on that card because those are your guys of the future. Those are the guys that are going to be with you for a long time. Those are the guys that are going to be fighting again against each other. So that's what you're looking for is build those people up, but you're building up people that man, they're super talented. They're going to be there.
Well, let's break this down into 2 things. International Fight Week, it was bigger back then. The reason why it was bigger is all the sponsors were involved. I mean, like fighters were making money sometimes from the UFC paying us. Like I did an autograph signing when I first came over from Strikeforce. They paid me $5,000 to do an autograph sign. The UFC did, but then now all my sponsors were involved in International Fight Week, so I made another $60,000. Just going from location to location.
You cheating bastard.
I was a whore. Like I put myself out there at any moment. Tap Out, Cage Hero, like TCB. Like I had all these companies, supplement companies were there as well. They had, Zions, all these companies were there at the time. And they were paying for us to be autographs there for an hour, 2 hours, whatever it was, and they'd pair you up with other fighters. So you'd be there with 2 other fighters or 1 other fighter. I did a signing with Misha Tate, did a signing with DC. I did a couple signings with Robbie Lawler and a couple other guys, at different booths. And so that to me was definitely bigger. So it's hard to kind of replicate that if you're not going to have sponsors coming in. To do those things. So that to me, International Fight Week seemed bigger back then. But I do like that they're bringing back a lot of the fan experience, though, that they've done this time. And I think they did it last year as well. But this time there's a lot more stuff going around on social media for them to bring it back. And I've noticed a lot more. They had Nita Drama there, I guess, apparently. She had a huge line. I know she's a social media influencer. She does interviews. But when you have someone who's involved in the sport, bring them along. I mean, whatever they're going to do to help the sport grow. She just needs to be careful because she's going to get killed by some of these fighters. You see some of the stuff, dude. Some of them are hitting her, some of them are dropping her. I'm like, Jesus Christ, the poor girl. Yeah, I know. She seems tough though.
Yeah, she's a good girl.
Now, in terms of the fight card, I got to be honest, John. When I first saw the fight card announced, there's two sides to it. I was like, yeah, it's not that strong. But when the fight came out and it started delivering, and we've said this multiple times, sometimes when I watch these fight night cards, I'm like, yeah, it's not really going to be that great of a card. And those guys and those females end up delivering. It really just comes down to when the fighters understand what's at stake, and this is your moment and your opportunity to seize that moment. International Fight Week is the biggest, I think, weekend of the year for MMA fighters. Noche is probably going to start making a run at it, I think, a little bit. But I think it's going to take a little bit. But it's going to be more of the Mexican, Spanish, market, that kind. But that could end up being huge for a lot of athletes to make their name on, fighting a Hispanic fighter.
But take a look. You had 2 championship fights, one of them being, for that open title, but with 2 great guys. You look at great fight. You can't ask for much more than what that top fight was.
Absolutely.
The main event. Okay. So then you had another championship fight. Like I said, I really thought that Pantoja was going to be able to control Kai Kara-France, take him down. That's exactly what he did. But okay, it was a championship fight. You got to say the Brandon Royval, when they put Joshua Van in that, tell me that wasn't an interesting fight for you beforehand, before you ever saw it.
It wasn't, because I honestly had two takes to it.
Because he had fought 2 weeks before?
He fought 3 weeks before. There was that quick turnaround. And then on top of it, he was ranked number 12, John. He never fought anyone ranked anywhere near that level. And then for him to take that huge jump, I was like, man, this poor kid's going to either get smashed and be like, shit, we just lost a rising star, or he was going to rise to the occasion. But I thought he was still going to lose for two reasons, because of the fact that he had such a quick turnaround, and mentally that's a lot. It's draining on you, and your body hasn't really fully recovered. There was that. And then a big step up. Like, how would he handle all of that going into a big fight on a big stage, huge stage, biggest stage he's going to be on?
Yeah.
Okay.
What about the Beneil Dariush versus Moicano?
I thought that was going to be a fantastic fight.
Okay.
But I guess, does it make it less appealing knowing that, like, both of them were kind of coming off losses, both of them not really looking great lately? Did that kind of make it less appealing?
No, because they're so young, and I cannot expect. Yes. Oh, excuse me. I was talking about the Peyton Talbot versus Andre Lewin.
Oh.
No, with Moicano, yeah, they were both coming off of losses and stuff, and you can look at it and go, Moicano lost to the fucking champ. Okay, he had a good streak. Now he had gotten hurt, like when he fought the tarantula. I can't think of his name. All of a sudden, lost. But Jalen Turner. Okay. But he's fun. He comes to fight. Beneil comes to fight. He's a little bit, I'm going to admit, he's getting a little more chinny. He's getting hit with shots that are hurting him more now than ever. And that happened in that fight. But I looked at it. That's a good fight. Overall, I was pleased with what was occurring with the fights. I thought, even in the prelims, they had some good matchups.
No, John, I'm not taking away from what I saw on TV. I'm saying when I first initially saw the fights announced.
Hold on. What I saw on TV was even better than what I thought was going to happen.
Okay. See, for when I saw the fights announcement, look, if I'm a casual fan, okay, I'm thinking like, okay, Beneil, he's coming off a loss. Moicano coming off a loss. Two guys fighting off a loss. Like, and the other one is close to a title shot. Like, okay, cool. It should be a fun fight, but like, I'm not going to write home about it.
Okay.
That's kind of, I think, if I'm a casual fan, that's what I'm thinking. That's a good fight to, have a good little scrap, but it way outlived what I thought it would.
Give it a number before you saw it, what you thought it was going to be about, just off of the matchup.
7.5.
Okay, so did I. That was what I thought. It'll be about a 7.5. Okay.
I gave it about a 9.5 or a 9.
Bingo.
At the end of the night.
I'll give it 9.5. Yeah.
I was like, holy shit, this is a great card.
Yeah.
And I honestly believe it's probably the best card of the year so far.
Oh, just the Royval versus Joshua Van fight, and then the results of the two championship fights. Yeah. Incredible.
Great performances by everyone. Yep. Great performances. What else you got for us, Dave?
All right, let's hop into this next thing here. I want to get your thoughts on this right here, which is these three guys, John Jones, George St. Pierre, and Khabib, being the only three to ever retire as champions. I thought it was an interesting post by, is it what's called Home of the Fight? MMA Pack, Home of the Fight. They put this up, and so I thought it'd be fun to have you guys take a look at this, give your thoughts on these three guys, only guys to retire as champions. What kind of enables somebody to do that? Not take advantage of everything in front of them. Anyway, I just wanted to kind of get you guys' thoughts on this.
Before we get started on that and we start talking about that conversation, make sure you guys join us over at OnlyFans. It is free to subscribe to us there. We are live right now on OF, and Dave takes questions from there, which we'll try to get into a little bit later. But I want to thank you guys. If you guys also follow other fighters, Corey Sandhagen's on there, Demetrius Johnson's on there, Chris Cyborg is on there, a ton of other athletes. Luke Rockhold, he's always showing his body, because he's physically super fit for a 40-year-old. But yeah, there's plenty of other fighters that are on there. So go ahead and check us out on OnlyFans. I want to thank them so much. We are the very first podcast to ever work with them and partner with them. And we've been with them for about 2 years. Subscribe to us over there. It is free. So join us on that platform over there. Also, Drink Element, and use the link down below in the descriptions. That right there will give you a bonus package. See, Big John's got one right there. Which one is that? The grapefruit.
This is the grapefruit. I love it.
The grapefruit. Yeah, I love the grapefruit. My son likes the grapefruit as well. But if you guys pick that up. They will send you a free bonus package with every purchase through that link below in our descriptions. All right, let's go ahead and talk. The only UFC fighters to ever retire as champions: Khabib, John Jones, and GSP. What is your take on why that's only happened in 30-something years of the UFC? Why have only 3 champions been able to retire with the belt?
There's a multitude of reasons. Well, one being that, when you're getting paid that kind of money, when you're the champ, it's hard to walk away from. Let's just be honest. There's always, I can do one more. I can do one more. I can do one more. And that one more sometimes bites guys in the butt, and then they want another one after that, and another one after that, and then it just starts to fall off. But, you got to give credit to the people that are able to step away. Now, there's a multitude of reasons also, that they can. This is where, people sit here and you think, they hear these numbers of what fighters are making. Khabib made a lot of money. Now, he made a lot of money in the UFC, and he made a lot of money outside of the UFC with a lot of his deals and stuff that he was doing, with companies in the Middle East and stuff like that. And hey, that's great, but it was all based upon what he did in the cage. That's why people wanted to be around him. That's why they wanted him part of their business, all these things. But he made a ton of money. John Jones has made a ton of money. He's made a ton of money through the UFC. George St. Pierre made a ton of money through the UFC. He also was smart enough to do those business deals and set himself up, in all of these ways that he could lend his name to certain aspects of companies and things so they could use him. He made a lot of money that way. He's been very smart with his money. He's tight with his money. And so he's set for life, but it's very difficult, especially when you get to where those 3 are. John Jones, you got to figure, coming in, 17 title defenses or 17 title fights, we'll say, somewhere in there. Khabib, wins the title, does a couple, 3 title defenses or so. And he's just in that point. Now, he made huge money with the Conor fight. He made good money with the, Poirier fight, made good money with the Justin Gaethje fight at a time when, COVID was happening and there wasn't the fans there to support the UFC, but he still made good money. Same with George. When you're making that kind of money, it's tough to walk away. It is tough.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys can't.
What you have to remember, with I've heard GSP say this, but also Khabib said it a bunch of times, even before he was champion. He's like, brother, I don't need a lot of money. And when somebody tells you that, you're like, okay, now your focus is really on just winning fights. It's not about how your contracts go. It's not about worrying. You're just worried about being the best and then leaving, with some brain cells and with a respectable legacy. And that's all he talked about was when I leave this sport, he's like, I'll be okay. Financially, I'll be okay. And my family will be okay. And 100% his family is okay. And it was funny. I was saying something to him through DMs the other, 2 weeks ago. And I asked him if this is his gym, because he had posted a new gym that his school is at in Dagestan now. Beautiful, beautiful complex that he built out. And he's like, oh, brother, this is just one of my gyms. And so, and it's, he's showed me videos of his gyms in Saudi Arabia, his gyms in Abu Dhabi, his gyms in Dubai. Tons of other gyms that are available.
But that's good.
There's a ton of other business ventures that he's obviously doing.
But you can also see he's the one. You're taking a look at these guys and saying they retired as champions, and yes, all 3 of these did. He's the only one that I think can. Not say that he's the only one that's never going to come back. Okay. Because George came back. Mm-hmm. George was retired after fighting Johnny Hendricks in 2013, 2014. What was it? Right.
Yeah.
And then came back 4 years later and fought Michael Bisping.
Yeah.
Okay. So he did come back, and I look at John Jones. I think you're going to see John Jones come back. There will come that point where he'll go, okay, yeah, it's time. And he's going to make a lot more money off of that because he thinks the fight's right for him. I think George thought the fight was right for him with Michael Bisping at the time, and it's a chance they're taking, but it's the draw of, it's another big payday. Mm-hmm. And it's the draw of, I think I can get it done one more time.
Yeah.
I just want to feel it one more time. I want to taste it one more time. I want to be there and have the crowd and step out and, you know, be announced. I just want to do it one more time.
Yeah, I think what you're going to find though is guys that aren't chasing the money are the ones that you'll find that are easy. They're the ones that will be willing to walk away. Islam,
yeah.
If he wins this title, I could see him walking away. I'm being 100% honest with you guys. Like, he loves fighting. He enjoys the training. He enjoys it all. But I think, look, he's made enough money. And not only that, he's kind of in the Habib situation too, where people are willing to pay him to do appearances, to open gyms with him and Habib and like in partnership. And then, you know, and they can focus on the younger guys that are coming up.
Yep.
I could see Ilya Topuria. You know, I don't think for Ilya, people want to compare him to like, hey, well, he's undefeated still, whereas Islam is not. John Jones is technically not. GSP is not. But like, people are going to say, well, if Ilya doesn't get to 29-0, you know, then he shouldn't retire. No. You shouldn't say any of those. Like, honestly, if he gets within like 22, 25, 20, that to me is spectacular.
It is.
You know, and to accomplish what he's done, who he's beat already. If he walked away, I would say, geez, more power to you, my man. More power to you. And he did something that Habib couldn't do. And Habib's my friend. I think he's still good, still one of the GOATs. You know, 100% one of the top 2 or 3 guys to ever play step inside the cage. That being said, we're simply talking about the fact that, like, if Ilya is to walk away, the last 3 guys he beat, and the 2 more that he potentially will end up fighting at 155, and possibly the guy at 170. I mean, if he's able to retire undefeated, John, that's pretty spectacular. We got to start considering or talking about, is he above John? Is he above GSP? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what?
First off, let's just say that he goes and he fights one time as a lightweight and then goes up and fights welterweight 2 more times. Let's say he has 3 more fights. Okay, that'll put him at 20-0.
Yeah.
But
that's crazy.
If he's at 20-0, that means he's a champion in 3 divisions. Who's the best?
He's the best. Yeah, he would be considered the best.
There you go.
Yeah, definitely crazy. Definitely wild. Something really take into consideration. But I agree with you in terms of why fighters don't retire with the title. It's no different than watching like Travis Kelce. I was watching an interview with him, I think with Bussin' with the Boys on their website. And he basically says, last year, I just didn't want to leave on such a shitty note. And they said, well, if you would have won the title, if you guys would have won the Super Bowl, would you have retired? He's like, maybe. Because he's chasing it. Sure. He's chasing it just like his brother was chasing it, you know, Jason Kelce. Yeah. And they're chasing that and they want to go out on top, but it's too hard to go out on top because that euphoria that it creates when you win.
I can do it again.
That's the most difficult thing. So I give props to them. John may come back. But I guess my question is now to you, though. Do you think UFC wants to even deal with him anymore after the things he just said? And I know he's been difficult to deal with as of recently, the last 5 years. I mean, all the shit that happened for the Cyril Gahn situation, the Francis Ngannou situation. Are they kind of just – you think they're kind of like, look, your pay-per-view number.
They're tired of him. There's no doubt. Like, no matter – they know how good he is. Mm-hmm. They know what he brings when he steps in the cage as far as, look, he's going to be fucking probably the guy that's going to win this. There's no doubt about any of that. But they also know if I don't have to deal with you anymore, good.
Yeah.
Good. You know, it's just there's some things, you know, Jocko Willink has got that whole thing about, you know, saying good. You know, hey, no, my dog died. Good. You can go get another one. Right? Yeah. Oh, you know, my girlfriend loved you. Good. She wasn't any good anyways. Go get another one. You know? So the UFC right now is using the Jocko thing of good. We'll go find another one. We've got one. Ilya Topuria. Say goodbye. Yeah, this is the way it is.
Well, here's the thing, though, John. Like, Topuria is now catapulting them up into this thing. Islam now is in a different division, now bringing more spotlight to that division as well. You've got Merab doing great things at 135 and at 145. They're trying to figure themselves out right now because a lot of the guys have left the weight class. But I think that division will definitely shape up.
Oh yeah,
it's one of the best divisions in the sport. It always has been. And you know, in 125, I think right now there's conversation with Pantoja. Really, is he going to be able to pass DJ and what he's been able to do and how he's been able to be such a great champion? He's getting overlooked, and I'm glad that he jumped 4 spaces.
Yeah, he went up to number 5.
Yeah, he was at number 9, I believe. Yeah. I'm glad that he jumped up to number 5. That's absolutely amazing for him. I'm happy for him because he deserves it. I love those dogs, those ones that really will just try to do everything they can to get the win and the finish. They're not just resting on taking the back and hanging out there. No, he's chasing the submission. He's chasing the finish. This is what the sport needs right now. They need the Ilia Topurias. They need Islam. He hasn't gone the distance, and I can't tell you what and how long. He hasn't gone the distance in a long time.
Well, he did close. Dustin Poirier was in the 5th round.
That makes it even more spectacular when you finish someone in the 5th round.
Well, it is.
What are you talking about? That's even you've already won most of the fight. Why would I try to risk it and go for a finish? No, get the finish, and he did that. I applaud him even more for something like that. And it would not just because he's Islam, but because in general it's very difficult to try to chase that submission when you know you're winning 4-1 or whatever it is. So then you got Pantoja who's finishing people. You got Ilia. You got Islam. There's fights that are to be had out there that are awesome, and I'm looking forward to this new era of fighters, and I want to hype this back up because the John Jones era was stalemating things, and he's now gone. Let's move on. Let's wipe our hands of all the drama, and let's move right on.
There you go.
What else you got, Dave?
So that's kind of wrapping it. There's a PFL this weekend. I know you guys. It's on July 4th. It's in Saudi Arabia. I know you guys. But I guess like one other question I had on this situation with the fighters retiring as UFC champions. Is GSP? Would you guys agree? GSP is the only one that's really done it, according to his own kind of desire, I guess, for lack of a better word. John Jones kind of walking away, questionable situation of like, does he not want to fight Tom and potentially lose? And he could be retired.
John blew that. John had the ability to fucking fight Stipe because Dana was all for him fighting Stipe, and we were all saying, dude, he's fighting a 42-year-old man. Come on, what are you doing? But John wanted that fight. Dana wanted that fight, and he had the ability to win that fight and say, you know what, guys, I'm done, and no one would have questioned anything.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
But he didn't do that. And he sat there and he held on to the title and let time go by and let Tom Aspinall go and win a bunch more fights after winning the interim title before he had that fight with Stipe. And the whole thing just ended up being, it's just tainted him as far as people now are looking and saying, oh, he's running from Tom Aspinall. I'm not saying he's doing that, but I'm saying people are saying that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he had the ability to make it clean.
Yeah, especially since he came out. He came out later and said, like, I told them I was done. I told them I was retired, and they kept trying to convince me. I do believe that they kept trying to convince him to take the fight because I know that it's been recorded that Dana was doing that to Khabib. If you and Conor did it one more time, and they were at the Dana White Contender Series, and they have it on mic, and they have, and they have Dana trying to convince them one last time,
that's Dana's
having
job.
Meetings.
That's
they did
Dana's
the video.
Job.
Yeah, I know he's doing his job, but at the end of the day, Khabib was never coming back.
Yeah,
it was never coming back. John, maybe on the other hand, this will make it worse. John, is that if John Jones decides to come back after Tom Aspinall loses? My gosh! Oh my gosh, John, we're never going to hear the end of it. I'm just going to be thinking to myself, I can't deal with this anymore. I can't deal with John Jones. Like the drama, the all the other stuff that comes along with it, man, it just drives me absolutely crazy. I admire him as a fighter. He's a great fighter. He's a fantastic athlete. All those things. But geez, man, it's time to move on. The drama show, big drama show.
As soon as John just gets on his little phone and tweets one little thing, MMA media will be putting it right out there about John Jones doing this and stuff. And so everyone's talking about him. That's what he wants.
Yeah, Dirty Reg 22. John would beat Francis and Aspinall on the same night. I just want to say this. John has not been the same since he left the 205-pound division. He was not. The last 3 fights at 205, he did not look explosive. He did not look fast. Now, don't get me wrong. He still won those fights. A lot of people questioned the Dominic Reyes fight. A lot of people questioned the Santos fight, who tore out both of his knees. And he still just didn't look dominant like he did in his younger years. That being said, then he came up, he fought an all-striker, got the takedown, got the submission, and then he fought a 42-year-old. So when you're talking about, like, he could have just walked away and retired inside the cage and be like, yeah, okay, I'm done. Okay, now I'm not dunking Tom Aspinall. Let Tom be the champion. I'm done. I beat the guy who has the most title defenses in the heavyweight division in Stipe Miocic.
Yep.
Like, I can walk away. I can be good. He didn't do that. He let it linger. I don't know. There's a lot to talk about on that situation, but John's retired. So let's leave it alone. Let's just leave it alone. So what else you got for us, Dave? Give us something.
Yeah, we can wrap up on this one. Actually, we never touched on it during the weekend, but Ben Askren's wife, he came out and made a statement that he got his lung transplant, and she's hoping to give positive updates in the coming weeks here.
Yeah, that whole situation is, just like last time we talked, hey, please, you know what, get down on your knees, give a prayer for Ben. He needs it. He got the lung transplant. Hopefully, that takes his body doesn't reject something, and that's always a concern with all that stuff. But God bless him, man. Ben's a great guy, and he's an unusual dude. He's funny as hell. He's got a real dry sense of humor, but he's a absolute gem when it comes to wrestling. He's a goddamn he's like Elon Musk. He's autistic when it comes to wrestling and the things he comes up with and stuff. He's crazy as far as what his knowledge base is. So we need him. We need him in wrestling. We need him in MMA as far as just to promote the sports, and we need him just to be healthy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge Ben Askren fan, man. Like, he's come into AK several times, trained with me and trained with the whole team. He is definitely, like you said, he is a little dry sense of humor, but fun to be around. I love how he busts, DC's balls when they would do their show together. It's just fun. It's fun to have a guy that you just know that he doesn't have a mean bone in his body. He just likes to poke fun at people, and to take a guy that looks like him and wrestled like him and be like, man, how did that guy fucking beat me? Right? But he could do it. He's got that funky style of wrestling. That's why he got the nickname. And I know there was this whole thing going around the gym was if he locked his two fingers around your leg, he was taking you down. And sure enough, there was moments where we saw him actually doing this as like a joke, and then just still taking guys down inside AK. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
Other things.
I'm glad to hear that he's recovering. I know he's back. I believe he's back at home now, or will be back at home here shortly. And good for him, man. I mean, obviously a lot of things had to happen for him to get his lungs, and prayers and wishes go out to the other family. But for him, I'm happy for him, and hopefully this opens up his eyes to a new life, which is awesome. So I did want to say one more thing. Rest in peace to the firefighters in Idaho who died. It actually happened in the town that I went to high school in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Chief Frank Harwood, 42 years old, in North Lakes Fire Department in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And then John Morrison, to both of them. I don't know you, but it kind of hits home when you went to high school there. And I have a ton of friends that are still there. I have family still there. And I go back all the time with my family and my kids. So it's important for me to make sure that bring awareness to this. And hopefully those families get the help that they need. And support during this time. So thinking of you guys in Coeur d'Alene and the safety of everyone. So I know we ended this podcast on a sour note, or just but want to make sure that they all got loved and they all got mentioned. All right, John, take us away, man. It's gonna wrap up our show. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I mean, we had a pretty good following, about 600 people, 550 people, something like that jumped on. And I want to thank you guys so much. We do this every Tuesday night at 9:30 Eastern time. And, we actually did the live on Sunday night right after the pay-per-view. It actually was a hit, did really well. So we may try to do that more often for the pay-per-views.
2,400 people, by the way.
2,400 people? For
total,
what?
yeah.
Oh, tonight?
How in the hell do you get 600? Dude, how in the hell
do you come up with
600?
John, you can't even count past 10.
Dude, you gave us 1/4 of what we got. What is wrong with you?
John doesn't know how to do math. I want to thank you guys for continuing to support us. You guys have been amazing. And look, I'm looking forward to getting my mic when I get back home so I can yell louder than John, so you guys don't have to listen to his whine. You can listen to me.
You did hear your boy DC got his truck stolen from the San Jose airport, right?
Oh, man, I sent him a message. They put it on the news.
I love
Superstar Dale Cormier gets his truck stolen. He had it for 4 days.
4 days. I hope he enjoyed it. DC, I'm sorry it got stolen. That's I'm not saying it as a joke to you. It sucks, but it was funny.
I told him to move to Texas, man. That wouldn't happen.
Hey, man, won't happen.
That wouldn't happen.
That's what happens. You live there in San Jose. But,
hey,
all
guys,
right, for everyone out there, thank you for tuning in. That's what Josh was about to say right there. We appreciate each and every one of you, and we will see you.